Porter, and welcome to this month's Timely Tips. Now, this month we're talking about all things back to school, back to work. Typically, this time of the year, we kind of see it as a brand new year when kids are going back to school and parents are going back to work. But this year's a little different because we have the added disruption of COVID, which means that parents can't fully go back to work because kids potentially aren't fully going back to school. And so this month, we're talking about parents who have to deal with the challenges of having their children at home. So stay tuned because I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Some other things you can find in our this month's issue of Timely Tips is we're going to talk about how you can help your kids without breaking your bank book. We're going to talk as well about how university students are paying for funding school. Big challenge during COVID. And as always, we're going to bring you the market so that you can learn as much as possible about what's happening with your investments. So stay tuned for this month's Timely Tips. So this month we are talking about working parents during COVID and having their children go back to school. What are some of the implications of that? And we spoke to two moms on my Instagram Live. And for those of you who don't know, I host an Instagram Live every Wednesday, and it's about the financial implications of COVID. So this month, we talked to a couple of moms about just some of the challenges of, first and foremost, making the decision to either send your kids back to school while you're working at home or having them quarantine with you at home. And, what I can tell you after speaking to these moms is it's not an easy decision, no matter what decision you make. And as parents, we feel a lot of guilt. And when I say we, not me, but for parents who are out there, they really told me they felt a lot of guilt. Either way, either if they, kept their kids at home just because of the isolation and mental health issues, or if they sent them out to school. No easy decision out there for any parent. So tip number one is, just know there is no right answer and really be kind to yourself. And also find a community of parents that you can just sort of share your stresses and anxieties with who understand what you're going through, just so that you know that you're not alone. Now, for those of you who are parents who've chosen to send your kids back to school, one of the things that the parents talked about, both parents who both decided to send their kids back to school, was they made the decision to bubble. And rebubbling meant they decided if they had parents, like grandparents, who were older, who were more at risk, they chose to not put them at risk by deciding not to see them while their kids were back at school. And so that's just a decision that these families made, and it's something definitely if you have your children at home or at school during COVID, during this time of the pandemic, it might be a decision you may want to make as well. The third tip that they gave that I thought was super, super useful is they talked about watching the language that you use with your children. Whether you have your children at home or you have them going back to school, really being careful with the terminology that you use, really not also having your children pick up on feelings of anxiety that you have, and really passing on that anxiety to them during this time. You really want to give your kids that confidence. You want to inspire them and give them the confidence to feel good about whatever decision you decide to come to, whether it's at home or at school. And so be careful with the language. Keep your energy level high and your thoughts positive when speaking with your children so that you can infuse them with the positiveness and the confidence that they need to feel good about your decision as well. And then finally, another tip that they gave was empower your children at this time, because whether you chose for them to go back to school or also if you chose to have them work from home, in order for them, because you can't always be around to enforce safety guidelines, you really want to first and foremost have them experience whatever feelings they're feeling about the decision to either have them at home or go back to school. Let them experience that and empower them, and make them feel good when they make positive decisions, or make positive choices when it comes to safety and COVID. So if they're going back into the school environment and they're in front with friends and they're not masking or staying 6 feet apart, you really want to reward them for when they do the right thing, and really try to encourage them and empower them around that, giving them those guidelines and giving them positive reinforcement when they stay within them. So those would be the top tips that came from our Instagram Live. We're really happy to share that with you. Know that it's a challenging time right now. You're not alone. Probably, one of the things we've realized doing these Instagram Lives on COVID and the implications of COVID is that this is probably one of the most important times to have a community around you. So that's this month's update, Timely Tips update. We hope you enjoyed it. We're always looking for suggestions on future topics for Timely Tips. If you have questions about any of the information that you find in this edition of Timely Tips, please reach out to us. Please reach out to our team. Please feel free to check out our YouTube channel. The link is going to be below. And please feel free to stay tuned for future Timely Tips. Thank you so much for staying in touch, and look forward to seeing you next month. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy.